in the Torah, Hilchos Siman Tav Kuf Chaf Vav, this deals with doing a levaya on Yom Tov. And this is not a simple thing, and it's also not something that is done very much at all anymore, although it used to be done much more, and we'll see that as we get into it. Meis hamutol lekbro, a dead body that's lying around waiting to be buried. Im hu b'yom tov rishon, if it's on the first day of Yom Tov, yita'sku bo akum. If it's the first day of Yom Tov, we have non-Jews take care of the burial. Afilu meis bo b'yom, even if the person died that day. We'll explain this in a minute. Im יכולים, ואפילו אם יכולים להשהותו עד למחר, even if I could wait until tomorrow, שלא יסריח, so the body won't rot. Meaning today, most people die in a hospital, and in hospitals we have morgues with refrigerated places to put people, and therefore the body is not going to rot even over 2 days of Yom Tov. However, classically, if you are in the summer, almost any place in the world, it's hot during the daytime. If it's Pesach, Shavuos, or Sukkot for that matter, most places, it's already begun to get warm, and the body, a body that dies of old age starts to decay relatively quickly, and it will start to smell. And this would be one of the things that we are required by the Torah to do, is to prevent nivul hames, is to prevent the disrespect to the deceased. So if the body starts rotting, it's disrespectful to the dead. So therefore, if for whatever reason, you're in a cold place, you're in Northern Europe and it's Pesach and it's still cold, very cool, it's not hot yet, I could wait until the next day and the body still would not begin to rot. For Rashi Perush, Delo Shari Ela Hecha Da'shtehyi. And according to Rashi, he says you're only allowed to bury the body on the first day of Yom Tov, even through non-Jews, if it's been waiting. Kegon shemeis b'Shabbos Shalifnei Yom Tov, like it died on Shabbos Erev Yom Tov. All right, meaning Yom Tov is on Sunday, and the person passed away on Shabbos, and we can't do a levaya. And now it's Sunday, and it's already been a while. The Ken Kasav Bahag, and this is also what the Bahag, the Baal Halachos Gedolos, one of the Gaonim, writes. Shirinen Masriach. The only time we're allowed to do a levaya on the first day of Yom Tov is if the body is going to start smelling. Meshinenle, if we would ad lemachar, if we hold onto it until the following day. Vavi adani harosh zal kasav kesberã Rashona. My father, my Lord, the Rosh wrote like the first opinion that we can bury the body even if it's not going to rot, even if it died today in Yom Tov, and so on. Kesberã Rabbeinu Yחיאל הלוי שישראל יכולים להוליכו דמתוך שהותרה הוצאה לצורך הותרה נמי שלא לצורך. However, Rabbeinu Yחיאל says that when, in terms of carrying the body to the graveyard, on the first day of Yom Tov, yes, the non-Jews have to dig the hole. They have to fill in the hole. However, who carries the body to the graveyard? In those days, they didn't have a hearse that carried it for them. People actually carried and took turns, and you have this in the Mishnah, who's pater and who's not from Kriya Shema and Tefillah. Well, you're carrying the body to the graveyard. That because we allow hotzah for the needs of Yom Tov, therefore we also allow it for other things as well. And because it's a mitzvah to bury the dead, therefore it should be Jews that carry the coffin to the cemetery. The Ken Kasav Aviyadani Rosh, and this is also what my father the Rosh wrote. Verambam Osir. And the Ramban says Jews cannot carry the body to the graveyard.
Hold on a second. Hutzah carrying is allowed on Chag.
It's only allowed.
But this is obviously Srichas Yom.
Wait, it's on Chag, cooking is allowed.
Correct.
And therefore I'm allowed to carry so that I can eat. Once we allow carrying for eating, we allow it for other things that are tzarech Yom Tov. Correct. The levaya itself, carrying the body to the graveyard, isn't a need of Yom Tov. It's a need of the burial. That's what the Ramban says. And since I can't have non-Jews do it, the Ramban says, therefore I should have non-Jews do it, not Jews. Whereas Harav Rabbeinu Yechiel said, once I'm allowed to do the levaya, right? So, and for the needs of Yom Tov, and since I'm burying on Yom Tov, it's now a need of Yom Tov. See, that step in his argument is what the Ramban rejects.
Got it.
But the Ramban says it's not a need, therefore it's not l'tzarech hayom, right? There's nothing intrinsic on this day that causes it. It's the death. The death is not connected intrinsically to Yom Tov. Lanas haguf mamash. What is tzarech hayom? This is what my body personally benefits from. The food, right? Changing my baby, the baby benefits from things like this, right? And he says carrying the body is similar to moving stones. It's something that I'm not allowed to do on Yom Tov. All right. The Yom Tov Sheni, on the second day of Yom Tov, and it doesn't, Yit'asku bo Yisrael, it's Jews that take care of everything for the funeral. Afilu b'Yom Tov Sheni shel Roshana. Even the second day of Roshana. Normally we say the second day of Roshana is just like the first day. This is the one exception in terms of a burial. It's considered second day Yom Tov, not first day of Yom Tov. Ve'afilu lo ishtahhi. Even if on second day Yom Tov the body hasn't been laid, it hasn't been around really. Afilu lemigaz le asa, even to cut myrtle for the covet of the mace. Velasos lo tachrichin, and to make the shrouds. Livnos aron, to make a casket. Lachtzov kever, to dig the grave. Mutter, it's all allowed. The Jews are allowed to do all of these things for the needs of the nifter on Yom Tov. V'hani mili shirotzim lekrover bo b'yom. This is only if I'm going to bury the dead on Yom Tov, on the second day of Yom Tov. Aval im ein rotzim lekrover bo b'yom. If I'm not going to bury it on Yom Tov, I'm going to wait until first day of Chol Hamoed or Isru Chag, the day after Yom Tov. Ein osin lo shum davar isur melacha. I cannot do anything that's prohibited. Do it tomorrow, right? If I'm going to bury the body today, all right, fine. But if not, no. Even if I want to use a non-Jew to tell him to go out, I want early morning funeral, tell the non-Jews to go out and dig the grave, no. Aval tiltul shari, but moving things around so that they're ready, that's allowed. V'nireh she'akipa sheboni malakever she'en lifnoso b'yom tov. And the monument that we build over the grave, you can't build this on Yom Tov. Once he's in the ground, lama yichalal Yom Tov shelo l'tzarech. Why do I have to be machalal Yom Tov without a need? Ele yechasu hakever b'sarim, cover up the grave with planks, va'afar, and dirt, ad la'achar moed, until after the Yom Tov. Now the Beis Yosef has a major discussion among the Rishonim on this about what it means. It's, if you think about the ohel that they build over tzaddikim in many places, this is what he says they're talking about you're not allowed to do. But in terms of shoveling the dirt into the grave and filling it up so that that there is a line over the middle of the grave that's higher than the dirt of the earth around it, he says that you're allowed to do. That's the normal burying. The extra things about building, you can build that later. You can do that a year. You can do it whenever you want to do it after Yom Tov. It's fine. V'tov l'mayit b'isur d'raisa b'kol ma sheyuchlu. And the Torah says it's good when I'm doing a burial on the second day of Yontif. It is good to reduce the amount of malachos d'raisa as much as possible. V'ken nohagim be'Ashkenaz, and this is the minhag in Germany. Shehanachri ose aron v'tachrichin v'chofer hakever, that the non-Jews make the casket and the shrouds, and they dig the grave. V'kol mashu isur d'raisa, and everything that's isur d'raisa. Aval tiltul ameis v'otza osin al Yisrael. But moving the dead body, preparing the dead body, doing the tahara and so on, and carrying the dead body out to the graveyard, this we do through Yisrael. For Rabbeinu Tam haya machmir bedavar, and Rabbeinu Tam was very machmir on this. Shelo lasos ha'idna klal al yedei Yisrael, that we don't do anything at all through Jews on the second day of Yom Tov. The ken kasev Rabbeinu Chananel, and this is also what Rabbeinu Chananel says, aval Rav Alfas lo kasev, but the Alfasi didn't agree with this. And this is what my father, the Rosh, said. And the Beis Yosef brings a Ramban that disagrees with Rabbeinu Tam. And the Svara of Rabbeinu Tam is as follows: that when the non-Jews see that we do something on Yom Tov, they will demand that we do other things on Yom Tov. And therefore it could cause many Jews to have to be Mechal Yom Tov. Whereas the Ramban does not buy this svara at all. And if you look a little bit historically into the nature of the feudal system in northern France, where Rabbeinu Tam lived, and in Spain, where the Ramban lived, there is a complete and total difference between the obligation of the people, whatever they were, whether they're serfs, tradesmen, whatever, who live under a given lord, to their lord in both places. In France, the lord can demand at any time in any place. Look at the Rashbam throughout Baba Basra on Arise Bate Avos, and you will see a very, very detailed description of serfdom in France at the time. And in Spain, where there were defined things that the people had to do for their lords, and the lord could not suddenly demand the people that weren't serfs to do something that he wanted, whereas this was possible in France. So it may be that if the Ramban had lived in France, he would have admitted to Rabbeinu Tam's argument, and if the Rabbeinu Tam had lived in Spain, he would have admitted to the Ramban's argument. Kasavari, Shelo Yasu Hadavar Ela B'tzina. When you're doing these things, it has to be done privately. You can't publicly make the Aron. Teafilu, the coffin. Teafilu b'chol hamoed tnan. Even in chol hamoed, this is true. You're not allowed to do public work in chol hamoed. Va'aron im hameis b'chatzer, and you make the casket in the courtyard of where the dead body is. פירש osim lo aron va'osino so etzel hameis kedei sheyidu hakol shu l'tzarech tzarko. That when you make the casket, you make it close to where the dead is, so everyone knows that you're making this casket for this dead person. Umiuwe, so be Yerushalmi, but in the Yerushalmi it says, V'lo shanu ela ba'adam she'enu meforsam. We only say this about a person who wasn't well known. Avo ba'adam meforsam, a well-known person, ve'afilu b'shuk, even in the marketplace, everyone knows about it. Umitam ze ha'idna, and because of this reason, the Torah writes, today, she'udim muatim darim b'mkom echad, there are only a few Jews living in one place. Uv'keshiyesh meis be'ir yadu hakol hashchuna, when there's a dead person in the city, the whole neighborhood knows. Hayu Kulahu kamo mforsam. Therefore, all of us are like well-known people today. Now, that may have been true in the tourist time. It is certainly not true. It depends on where you live today. So if you're living in a Jewish community with, 40, 50 families in it, and everyone would, of course, know if someone passed away, then it would be mutter to do it any place. Whereas if you're in a large Jewish community like Netanya, Los Angeles, New York, so on, it would not. Kasav Bahag, the Bahag writes, Mutter l'vos hameis b'yom tov rishon b'toch hatchum. That the Baal Halachos Gedolos, one of the Gaonim, says, I am allowed to escort the dead to his burial if it's within the Tchum Shabbos on Yom Tov Rishon. B'yom tov sheni afilu chutz l'tchum. On Yom Tov Sheni, I can even go outside the Tchum Shabbos. This is 2,000 amas, say 4,000 feet, from the end of the houses, dwelling places within a city. If you live in major cities today, you can't walk out of the Tchum Shabbos and Shabbos at all because it's too far away. Living in Los Angeles, when I lived there, you can walk all day. You're not going to reach the Tchum Shabbos, no problem. The Ramban wasn't sure whether you can go back. Meaning, yeah, you can escort the body, but once you're there, if you've left the Tchum Shabbos, can you come back? Or im nemar she'ein lo el alpaim mimkomo, or you only have 2,000 amas in each direction from where you are, because I came here in the mutter. So if I left the Tchum Shabbos, aser, I wasn't allowed for me to do it, but I did it anyway. I'm only allowed to go within arbus amos of where I find myself. Since I went for a mitzvah and it was mutter for me to go, therefore I have 2,000 amos in every direction. The im osam alpaim nivlaim betoch techumo yachzir l'mekomo. If my Tchum Shabbos where I am now is within the Tchum Shabbos where I started, then I'm allowed to go back. Maseh shemeis tinok ben shloshim b'yom tov sheni. It once happened, the 30-day-old child passed away on Yom Tov Sheni. Now, a 30-day-old child, we're not sure whether it's considered a bar kayama, a viable fetus, or it's a premature baby that can't survive. The Amar Harivam, the Rivam, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Meir, Paskin, Kevan Shelo Haya Yodea Vadai Shekalalo Chodashav. Since we don't know for sure that it's a full-term fetus, Ein Dino Ksharmes Lechalal Alav Yom Tov. It's not like other dead that we can violate Yom Tov to bury it. V'Rav Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Rav Rabbeinu Yitzchak Lavan Omer Kevan Derov Nashim Yoldos Vlad Shel Kayama Dino Ksharmes. Rav Rabbeinu Yitzchak Ber and Rav Rabbeinu Yaakov and Rav Rabbeinu Yitzchak Lavan said that since most women give birth to full-term babies, therefore we assume that this baby was a full-term baby and we can treat it like any other dead on Yom Tov. There are many, many, many halachos on this that I'm only going to mention a couple of interesting debates about it. One is, if on the second day of Yom Tov, I am going to go out and dig a grave for someone that died, it has to be buried on the second day of Yom Tov, am I allowed to be paid for it? Normally, I'm not allowed to be paid for anything I do on Shabbos and Yom Tov. But here, he says, since the Chachamim considered Yom Tov Sheni as a weekday, all right, the Ri says that you can therefore charge your normal fee for digging the grave on Yom Tov. Whereas other Rishonim disagree and say, no, that this doesn't work. There's another interesting thing about whether I can take a body farther than the closest graveyard. Meaning, I'm in city X, but my whole family has been buried in city Y. Can I, on Yom Tov Sheni, take the mace from the graveyard to city X, all the way to the graveyard in city Y? Meaning, I pass the first graveyard and go to the second graveyard to bury him or not. That's a point of debate. There is a very interesting shaila in the Rivosh. We know there is a famous halacha, meis mitzvah kones makomo, that a dead body acquires its place. There are 10 conditions with which Yahushua divided up Eretz Yisrael among Klal Yisrael. One of them is that the meis mitzvah acquires wherever it is. Meaning it doesn't matter who owns the land, the dead body that's lying there with no one to take care of it, it acquires that land and it should be buried where it is. It shouldn't be moved. But since this is a condition of the burial in Eretz Yisrael, what happens if I run across a dead body on Yom Tov with no one to bury it? Should I bury it where it is, or should I take it to the basic kavoros, the Jewish basic kavoros, to be buried there? The Rivash was asked the Shaila, and he says you take it to the basic kavoros, you don't bury it in its place. There's no din of this special din of meis mitzvah only applies to a mace in Eretz Yisrael, not to someone who died someplace else. Now, I want to say that Bizbanenu, all these halachas are almost completely non-applicable because, as I said, most people die in a hospital where there is a morgue with air conditioning, with refrigeration that will keep the body, so it will never come to bizayon, to smelling bad at the funeral. Even without that, most people have air. If it's hot, most people have air conditioning, so it won't be that hot that the body will be in such bad shape if it's passed away at home. And Rebbeisha only allowed the KAJ, Kaladas Yeshurun, the Yakis, to run their Chevra Kadisha on Yom Tov, because he was convinced that no one else would actually be able to do it right. We've only touched the very beginning of these halachas, but as I said, nowadays our minhag is to wait, and often, even in most cities, the graveyard is too far away for most people to walk. Certainly carrying the casket on our Yom Tov, not like it used to be. Go to some small places where, when I lived in Lon Shalut, you can walk to the basic kavoros of the Gush in 15-20 minutes, depending on where you are in Lon Shalut. So it's not. Would be possible there. Vast majority of places, the cemetery is not so close, and therefore these halachas in general are not relevant. However, it is important for us to understand the idea of kavod that is due to the body of the deceased, and these halachas were part of that kavod.